On Spotlight this week, it's actor Don Wycherley. Well, he's one of Ireland's most dynamic and beloved actors, whether it's the stage or the screen. Here he is with me now at the Stella Theatre in Rathmines. How are you?
I'm good, Lisa.
Don, it's a pleasure.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
We haven't seen each other in a while.
A long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
But actually, just so everybody
I've seen you on
knows.
telly and stuff, but yeah.
But of course, I've seen you on stage and screen. But we actually worked together on Bachelor's Walk, and really show my age now, of course, of when I started.
Well, I think I was much older than you at the time. So you've shown up my age because you were only a young kind of a runner.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember getting the teas and coffees, kind of cutting my teeth literally in television and drama and everything behind the scenes. And that was bringing us back to 2001.
Yeah.
Oh, Bachelor's Walk. I mean, everybody loved it, didn't they?
Everybody loved working on it. I mean, it brought out the fun in everybody. It was a great time. I mean, it was just great, and a great dynamic with Simon Keaton, the lads John and Kieran and Tom. It was just great fun and great banter, and it wasn't really like a job, and we were getting paid by RTE,
yeah.
not mega, but but it was still good.
I remember the days on set, and it was interesting because there's never a hierarchy in shows like that between directors and actors. Everybody mucks in together, and I really felt that dynamic between the three of you and the directors as well, because there was a few directors on the show, was there?
Well, all the lads who wrote it used to direct it, and sometimes you'd have all three in, and sometimes you'd have two, and sometimes you'd have one, and it didn't matter. They were all super and knew what they were doing, and if they didn't, and at the time, we would have sure had a couple of arguments about stuff.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
It was
collaborative arguments.
We're all kind of starting off on our journeys of. I'd done a bit, and do you know what I mean? But it was just great fun. I don't know, and more, and doing stuff that it was everything that I'd done prior to that had been a little bit stayed, a little bit. Everything is the setup of the camera, and you walk on the marks, and the lads just. I remember we came out of the house on Bachelor's Walk, and John, I think, said, this is just too static. Let's just walk up the quays. And then the locations guy was going, but we haven't cleared anything. He said, the lads can walk up a street and talk.
But you can't. That's the thing.
And we were
you know
going,
what I mean?
But there was people, and they said someone might look in the camera, and then someone mightn't. Yeah. And so we just started walking up the quays, and then we said the scene wasn't finished, so we walked across the bridge, and then we're heading towards Temple Bar, and the lights looked as if they were going to go green, so we just went across on green, John pulling the cameraman, and it was just just doing new stuff. It was just very exciting and a great different way of filming, and that was down to the guys really, and a wonderful team that they had, and our guys, the acting too, and the crew were magnificent.
Oh,
and I've met
great.
so many people in different jobs over the years. It's been a joy.
It's kind of a drama that everybody knows but loved, and everybody loved the irreverence of it. And I think, as well, as you mentioned, John Carney, who was of course directing at the time, was very much a fluid director, and was like, let's try this, let's try that. And I think so. You really felt that even as a crew member. The crack on set was madness, and the jokes. I mean, I don't know how you had a straight face with Simon Delaney.
There was lots of outtakes.
Yeah,
sometimes the outtakes was but a joy, and it was wonderful to be part of it, and even to reminisce about it now with you.
It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Because I don't think in ways we don't have tapping into Irish drama. We don't have something like that at the moment. That was of its time, and it just captured
something of Ireland, of Dublin at that time. It was kind of like the start of coffee shops. Do you know the guys? We go, do you want a latte? Do you know what I mean? Decaf. Ireland was coming out of the 80s and 90s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd go out in the morning and get up and go down for a coffee. Do you know what I mean? And someone would arrive back. Generally, Raymond, my character, because none of the others had money, so I'd come back with the coffees, and it was something. It was just Ireland coming into that new, the Celtic or the start of the little roar of the tiger was beginning. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And we were getting confident in ourselves, and we were a European capital, and the city was shown in a great light, and the river and the bridges, and we were in funky restaurants. And
that really was part of it. I remember one day you filmed in a restaurant. I can't remember, obviously, it was a long time ago too, but it's that sense of, you know, you were showcasing Dublin to everybody else to say, this is our city, this is where we are from. You know, we're very, very proud of it. And it looked beautiful, the way that John shot it as well. It looked great.
It was a character
in itself.
Like fifth character in the whole thing.
And of course, Don, you might know, and if you'd watched Ireland AM, I was with the glorious Simon Delaney for many moons.
Yeah.
And I never stopped laughing. Like when the cameras would be on a break or whatever. I mean, the one-liners.
I have to say, I wouldn't say it to him now, but I do miss him on Ireland AM.
Do you
know
miss
what I
him
mean?
on Ireland?
Just the way Simon is, and has always been, even on set. You know, he would be the one that would, you call it corpsing and make you laugh. You know?
Oh, totally, totally.
And like just seeing him, and I'd see him so many times in that Ireland AM set, and you know, munching this or the little eye flick, and he's just, I miss him on it, but he's doing other stuff and he's doing great.
Nah, he's brilliant.
He's all right.
He's one of my favourites. You know, even the fun stuff, there could be something pretty horrid coming down the track off the break, and he'd say something to you, and you'd be in knots laughing. You know, but his favourite one was, "I'll see you on the dance floor." I don't know if you ever said that to
you. Never said that to me.
Never said that to you. Always used to make me laugh. But let's talk about another iconic cult show. I mean, need I even say it? Father Ted. I mean, my God. I mean, people just, it never ever gets old. It never stops being funny. It never ends. It's just glorious. It's a gift every time you turn it on, you know?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Fabulous. I you know, when you're in it, you don't really know. I mean, the first year, I was just in, what was the first year? We were in, I was one of the priests, and the other, I was Dougal's counterpart, Father Cyril, on Rugged Island as opposed to Craggy Island. And it was just fun. Chris Kern and who played Dick? Doesn't matter. But we were these, I think we were all dressed as we were dressed as at 3 Degrees. It was one episode, and it was just bizarre. And Dermot and Ardle and Pauline and the laughter. And I remember going live to the studios and shooting it, and over in England, and they brought the outside stuff and they put it on. It was just, I'd never seen that done before. It was amazing, very interesting, very funny, the stuff I was watching, but I was only a small part in it. But then I came back the second year and I was in 2 episodes, and I was in the Giving Up Stuff for Lent, and
that's the
best. Song contest one, which was great. And then in the final series, I was looking for the corner flag. And look, it just became a great joy to do. And those people were just fantastic to work with. Obviously, Pauline and Ardle and
the late Dermot. I mean, needless to say, you know,
so
it still lives on. It still lives on.
I think, again, just like Bachelor's Walk, the writing was just sublime. It just, Graham Lennon, Arthur Matthews, it was just on the money. And some of the lines, you were just gone, you can't get away with this. They always pushed it.
Did you feel that you couldn't get away with it? Because, you know, when you look at it now, you think, oh my God, like it's, you know, slightly politically incorrect. But at the same time, that's comedy, right? So you just have to let it go.
Again, that was, I spoke about Bachelor's Walk on the end of an era of something. So was Father Ted, you know, the reverence of when I grew up in Ireland, it was God bless and hello Father, and being this irreverent to, you know, the church, like you know, at now, you know, everybody, every church, whatever. But back then it was a little, and there was a few of the lines I was going, oh my goodness, you know,
how are we getting away with this? Basically,
well. They did, and it was hilarious. And I do think, having spoken to many Catholics and priests, they kind of love it, and they just go, you know, that's it. You've got it. If you can't laugh at yourselves, who can you laugh at? And that was they latched on to something, and was another great, wonderful thing to have been part of.
But the brainchild of it was Hat Trick Productions, wasn't it? Hat Trick Productions. They were just, you know, to kind of, I suppose, is again to create something like that comes out of nowhere, you know, and then to be just thrust upon us all with just the joy of kind of the nonsense really of it all. It really felt like you were a part of the story with the lads, you know, you felt like the comedy was brought into your living room and that you could enjoy it all.
The main guys in that were fabulous, all of them. Do you know what I mean? And when I'm flicking and whatever, you just when it's on, you go, oh, what episode? Oh, and there's still little tiny bits of some that I haven't watched or watched fully. I went, oh my God, I don't remember that. And it's just one of those that always kind of like Faulty Towers for me. And when I'm flicking, I go, oh, there's Faulty Tower. Oh, what episode? Oh, the Germans. Do you know what I mean?
You zone in on it, you know.
You just go. And I think, you know, it has achieved that status now almost, you know, Father Ted, Faulty Towers. And now there's a new generations. Now they don't recognize me anymore. I'm getting away with that. No one recognized me as a young Father Cyril playing the keyboards. But anyway,
it's just,
move on.
it is. It's like that though. You switch on the episode and you're like, oh my God, I love this episode. This is the one I want to watch. And for me, what's so important is that, you know, younger audiences have been drawn to it as well. Absolutely. You know, the humor thankfully has, you know, cross-generationally transcended everybody and everyone gets the same jokes, you know. I feel like Father Ted will never die. He'll just always be there.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. Hopefully. I come back in 100 years. I don't know. That'll be something else. Hopefully I'll be involved in it.
And let's talk about theatre, because I'd been thinking and researching about you, and I mean, it's unbelievable to think that there's been 35 productions across the Peacock and the Abbey that you've done. I mean, that's an incredible volume of work. I know you said you haven't been there in a few years, but I mean, you know, 35 plays over that particular time with both the most iconic kind of stage presences. It's wonderful. Do you love theatre, live theatre still?
I suppose. That's where I started. I was very fortunate. My first play was Away Alone by a Janet Noble in the Peacock. And it was directed by Fionnuala Flanagan. She cast me in it. I did the Gaiety School of Acting. I did a year there way back in the day when it was only a year and less expensive. But and it was a great bunch in that year. Aisling O'Sullivan was in it, Luke Griffin, Stephen Kennedy, Frank Laverty, loads of us. And I got cast, as did Frank and Aisling, in that show. And then Gary Hines, who was the artistic director, and the casting director in the Abbey at the time was Maureen Hughes, who's obviously still in the game, but she cast us in that play with Fionnuala directing. And it went down really well. Liam Cunningham was in it as well. And after that, Gary Hines came and offered us a year's contract so we kind of became, even though the Abbey player system was gone, there's no such thing as a full-time Abbey actor anymore. At that time, she took us all on for a year. And so I had the joy of being in like shows downstairs in the Peacock. I remember doubling up at one stage. I was in a show in the Peacock of Tom Murphy's called On the Outside, and upstairs I was in the crucial week of The Life of a Grocer's Assistant, another show of his, and I used to run up between the things and go from one show to the other. And so I suppose it was the ultimate, you know, you start as a spear carrier and you get the experience. And so I built up and learned so much in there. And then after that year, I just kind of continued working there. I got a part in The Honey Spike, which was directed by an American, Francesco Zambello. It was the main with Mick Lally. And it was just a great gang on that. Susan Lynch opposite that. And then I got Bernard Farrell's Last Apache Reunion, which took me on for another. So I kind of ended up doing a lot of time there. And then over the years, I've been back. But so I would see the Abbey Peacock as kind of my spiritual theatrical home. It was where I learned lots, and you know, some people, others would have done a different ways. Then suddenly, of course, that comes to an end, and kind of after that job suddenly stopped one day, and I was no longer under contract. I mean, what am I doing now? And so that, as for an actor, is a kind of a, you know, a light bulb moment of what, you know, there has been nothing, and you're on a roll of that. So I suppose over the life of an actor, you have to say there are huge ups and huge downs. And that was, I remember hitting the wall after maybe 3 years of nonstop theatre and loving going, what's the next, and loving the projects. And then it went.
Would it be also the furore of the crowd and the kind of, you know, do you get an addiction to that, the applause in a way, you know? Is that the right thing to say?
It's not so much. I suppose having done it for a long time now, there's something about as an actor, you know, you have a little more control, because in film and television you can do the best take and the director will use the one he prefers because the lighting was better, and you're going, why did he use the one where I was brilliant? And film is different. There's producers and everyone's on board. So the beauty of theater is you go with a cast, or I'm doing a one-man show, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But if you're with the cast and you're rehearsing for 4 weeks together, ensemble, working the lines, and then you're off book, and then you start, and the director is getting you this way, that way, and you get it, and you bring it to a point, and you put it on preview, and it becomes yours. Then really, the director, even though they've directed you all the time, once they're down in the audience, they don't have that much control over you. Now it's your time to, take what they've given you, what your cast have given you, and then you make that character your own on the stage. And there's nothing, I walk on television sets now and movie sets. Now, this is also because I'm not in the movie, I'm not Tom Cruise, so I don't have the script years in advance, and I'm working and I'm getting my limp right, because I'm not at that, I'm not playing Premiership, but I play League of Ireland.
Stop it now. Stop it now. We're going to come to your big cash of work here now.
I know, but that's the reality. So when I walk on set, you might get very little rehearsal on TV and movie. We'll do a little that, and now we do it. And then you get a couple of takes, and generally more takes go to the bigger stars. So you need to get your lines right on the, do you know what I mean?
That's an interesting point.
So you'd go and they'd ask for more. So really you're on when you're doing a cameo role, you need to know your lines, get on, get off, and and that's the way it is. And it's not as joyful for me as getting into a character.
I can see
and
that.
Working. Now, that said, I just told you I loved Bachelor. That was great. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are fantastic, and there are some jobs. Like, the reality is, if the agent rings you up and going, this one, and going, look at the script. He said, well, you're going to put it, I'll put it on tape. I say, how much? You do some stuff, some stuff.
Sure.
Because you need to do it.
Of course, and you need to work, right? So it's got to be.
Okay. And, I think it's even Michael Caine says the same. How much, where is it shooting?
but and it's funny because people, when they say, acting and, wow, those statistics, I think they're kind of old now, but that sense of like 90% of actors are out of work and they're da-da-da-da-da. But it's the truism, isn't it? It's like if something comes across your path, or your agent phones you and says, right, it's 3 lines, but you're getting X amount. Sometimes you got to go with that, right, as well. But then you get those beautiful moments where the agent rings you and is like, here, share scenes with Kate Blanchett. Go for it. I mean, you must go, wow, okay, thank you. That's quite nice.
Well, that unusually, I was doing that show. I think I mentioned. Well, he saw me in 2 shows. He saw me in Eden, Joel Schumacher, who directed Veronica Guerin. Right. And he saw me in Eden with Catherine Walsh, and then he happened to be in Ireland again. He saw me in the Honey Spike then, and saw 2 different roles. And then he just came into the Abbey after Honey Spike. I was in the bar, came out. He said, "I want you in my movie," and that's
a bit of a classic, isn't it? I want you in my movie. Yeah.
And I have to say that's never happened since.
Good old Joel
But
Schumacher.
when you're young and just starting out in the business, you're going, "Oh my God, this is the way it's going to be now." But that was wonderful to do that. And Veronica Guerin was a great movie. I was working with Kate Blanchett, totally professional, and not. I wasn't in any way, when you're young, I wasn't in any way inhibited. She was starting her career, but we had a big scene, and I was going, as a theatre actor, I was to the AD, I need to rehearse the lines with her. And he said, she's in her trailer. And I said, well, knock on the door. And ask,
we need to get this done.
So he knocked on the door, and she said, she thinks that's a great idea. So I went into her trailer, and we just went at it like 2 theatre actors, rather than meeting on set and then trying the lines.
But would that not be normal?
Sometimes, depending on the deity you are working with, they might just. Now it depends. Now she's from a tradition of theatre. Wanted to do that, so that was great, and it was great to be a part of that one. And
now, of course, moving on then as well, Wild Mountain Thyme,
that's a move.
We're moving over to another side of film, but that sense of working with actors, younger actors as well, actors coming up, and the training that one has to have. I mean, lots of actors don't train now anymore. That's another side to things, and they expect to be on film sets and they expect to be able to get their glory days, and do that.
I don't think
not
you
a truism.
have to train. Like, I mean, I've met so many actors from different who have gotten into the profession in different ways. There's no set way of getting in. Unfortunately, now there are a lot of these prolific, institutions that you do go. I didn't know how to get into it at the time. I just it was. So that's why I went and applied to the Gaiety School of Acting, did an audition, got in, did a year. But now some people are spending 4 years. I don't know. I think you'll probably learn more doing out on but at the same time, some people need that learning experience. And I'm kind of glad I did it because I know other way of accessing that kind of life I didn't know. And so once I did my end of year show, thankfully, as I mentioned, Maureen Hughes cast me in the Peacock show, and that's how I kind of kicked off. And so I don't know. I can't say it's a funny old profession. And as I said, there are no guarantees in anything. And even when you're think you've reached some level, there are no levels. Do you know what I mean? You might be, Eureka, this is the one. And the amount of times people, our agents have said, this is it now. And you're kind of going, what's going to happen? I don't know. And something doesn't, or, you can make decisions that are wrong. And it's, as I said, it's the roller coaster ride of the profession that is acting. And sometimes it's up, and you really need to be thick skinned if you're going into this game.
You still enjoy it though.
Oh, absolutely.
You wouldn't do anything else. You wouldn't want to do anything else.
No, I mean, I like writing. I like being involved in anything creative, to be honest. But I do. But I've always, as well as acting, I've always taught intermittently. I'm a primary school teacher. I've done that when COVID hit. That's what I went back to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be realistic. There's not many actors wandering around going, I'm waiting for my next job. That day is gone.
It's gone.
Do you know what I mean? You have to have something. If you're not a barista, you need to have something. I was always lucky. I had the teaching to fall back on. But you've got to be doing something else because you cannot wait by the phone. It'll kill you. It'll crush you. And if you're not doing that, you need to be working with, like John and all the creatives, they were working together, coming up with scripts or, writing a play yourself to put it on in some smock alley in a first time putting on a show. You've got to be doing those things if you want to be in. You just cannot sit waiting for your agent to ring, or you will, it's
curtains. It's crushing.
It is. Yeah.
Let's talk about, you've just done a brilliant run, but this run is continuing right up until next year as well in Dunleary. And the Life and Times of Paddy Armstrong, I'd love to know more about it, and what can we expect from something like that?
Well, that was a project, just Mary Lane Tynan, who co-wrote his biography with Paddy, because she worked with Paddy's wife Caroline in the same school. She came at me. The book had been out a long time. I hadn't read it. She came at me and she got my number from Laura in the Viking. I'll never forgive Laura. No, but she said, would you read this book? And I hadn't read it. I knew Paddy Armstrong because when I graduated in 1989 from Pat's, we went across for a pint in the Cat and Cage, and on the telly was the guys coming out, and we're going, the Guildford Four got out 15 years, and we're going, here's to teaching and here's to them getting out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll always remember that. And then reading Mary Elaine Tynan's book, the autobiography or biography, it was amazing. There was so much, again, roller coasters word I use, a life of, we went here and then this happened and suddenly he's arrested for something he didn't do. And, he was just having a bit of crack in London, smoking and drinking. Door broke down. You did Guildford. He went, where's Guildford? Do you know? Yeah. He was from Belfast, and just the story, it sucked me in. It was great. And then I worked with Mary Elaine over the guts, on and off, over the guts of a year, just refining it, cutting. And she had a friend of hers as well, Niamh Gleeson, who did the initial work on how we'll get all that and make it into an hour and 15 minutes of a play.
Because it is solo.
Oh, it's me, just me, yeah. So. Yeah.
that's scary, no? Or not commanding a
It's the
stage
only way
for
you're
an hour.
guaranteed to work with absolute quality.
I love it.
No.
There, you heard it first.
No,
yeah.
no.
No, I
it
know,
just-
but
it
it's
ju-
you on your own, delivering resilience and injustice and all the emotions that have to come over the space of an hour. We're only talking for half an hour, but to build a character and bring that to the fore, that's tough going. You're not
Yeah,
knackered
it is.
afterwards.
And doing it, I remember the first performance we did it for Paddy and his wife, and
Oh, wow.
that was the most tense I have been in any of the performances. And just doing it, and he was in the dark in the quiet theatre of the Viking upstairs and in the sheds, and I could hear him chuckling at the little mentions of his family, his sister, and I'm doing a couple of voices, and his mother and his dad, and I'm going, and he clapped at the end and loved it. He loved it.
I loved it.
And to do that, and then I was worried about his kids came along, and his son hadn't seen it in a while, but then he came, and because he was initially nervous, I understood that about the portrayal of your dad, and then he loved it and posted about it, and so it's great to have that the family love it, and it's kind of I suppose there's a little bit of a legacy, because Paddy was the quieter one of the Guildford Four. Jerry Conlon came out and they make a movie.
Of course, they made a movie, yeah.
Leave that be out the front door, and do you know what I mean? And everyone knows In the Name of the Father, but Paddy's story wasn't that well known, and Paddy was actually going out with Carol Richardson, who also did 15 years. She was a young English girl that Paddy was going out with, and they were accused of it, and she did 15 years inside. And when they were released on that day, 19th of October 1989, he wanted to run out with Jerry and go, "We're out," and she said, "No, I want to go out the back," and she didn't want the limelight, so he went out with her. And I think he kind of, he somehow in his head, when talking to him, he goes, he questions that decision. No, it was the right thing to do, because she didn't want to go out and to the limelight and never wanted it to be a big deal. But Jerry went on and became very vocal about the Guildford Four.
That's right,
and
yeah.
all that. And Paddy's story is, I suppose, less known, because he was, as I said, the quiet man. But it's being told now.
And of course, everybody that they missed it. This is going on for another year. You're touring all over the UK as well, which is phenomenal. You'll be busy. I hope you don't forget your lines. How does one not forget anything, or is it so ingrained in you?
There's nothing like a good long pause. It focuses people, and they go. There was one time I was doing it.
Oh, right.
And there was a little bit of a mobile phone went off here, there, maybe three at the same time. It's more unusual now when a mobile phone doesn't go off during a performance.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'll tell you, very unusual. And so there was a mobile phone gone off there. Someone was adjusting their hearing aid over there, and I was going, what? And I just,
where was I?
I just went, oh my God, where? And so, but I just went, do you know what I mean? And I went through the roller decks in my mind, and then I found where I was, and then I went back, and afterwards a guy came up to me and said, "My God, that pause, that pause there."
You were like, I just actually
you had
couldn't
us
remember.
in the palm of your hand. I was going through the roller decks in my mind of the paragraph. I was turning a page.
But that's frightening. And I saw Colin Meaney in a play as well, where, it's solo for all this breadth of time on stage. And, I often wonder, because you've got to keep up the accent, obviously, as well. And you can never lose character, as one would say. But it is also the lines. But it's also then the direction and the energy that you need to keep up for that full hour. Has there been any times where it's dipped slightly and you think to yourself, I have to? Because, people are human. You get sick. You got to keep it going. There's only you two. There's no replacement.
There is a thing called performance energy, and you just find it. Every audience can be different as well, and some audiences can energize you. I have a few little tells in the first. I'm going, oh, no reaction there. Do you know what I mean? And you get a laugh there, and sometimes with the Paddy Armstrong story, I think people come and are very reverential and going, oh my God, the story of 15 years in prison. But Paddy is hilarious, and there's jokes. He's always telling gags. Do you know what I mean? And so I drop a few in the first couple of, and some people laugh and they go, oh, they're going, oh, you can laugh at this. There's going to be, and it's Belfast black humor, and it, like, some of it is, oh God, are we laughing at that? So when they I'm energized by that. But then sometimes you have a listening audience, and I come out and I might say to the stage, God, were they even with me? And then there's a huge they stand at the end, and they've
Wow.
been so reverential that they gave you all the attention, didn't want to laugh. And then I'm going, I treated that audience badly. I was cursing them, and they were actually so into it that they were so quiet. And then you're going, that's even better than maybe the laugh. So that's what's going on with an actor. The audience changes probably your performance. You're listening to them and going with them. And so, playing with them.
Playing with them. Let's talk about, we touched on a little bit there, international films, Irish films, thank God we have, a booming Irish film industry, and so many people come to film here as well. But we mentioned Gráinne Gearan, we mentioned Wild Mountain Thyme, but also Irish film as well. You've worked with so many people. You mentioned Fionnuala Flanagan, whom I love. Wonderful woman, actually was in her house in Los Angeles. Around Oscar time there a couple of years ago. What does it mean to you to be on international film and Irish film? Do you prefer one to the other, or do you find the crews are different? Where do you sit with all of that?
Look, as I said, I suppose I'm just an Irish actor, and generally speaking, when a big Hollywood movie comes in, it's going to be a cameo role. Do you know what I mean? Realistically, unless you're the Brendans or the Collins, and do you know what I mean? And so I just go. It's like any other gig. For me, I walk in and I'm rarely in awe of a major Hollywood, and as long as they're nice, that's good. I got on. Emily Blunt was lovely.
Yes, that's what I was getting to. Sneakily going around the back door on that one. And of course, I'm sure she was.
No, well, not everybody.
But you can never divulge those ones. No. We wouldn't do that on this podcast.
And maybe in the pub later.
Yeah, but in terms of exactly that. You've got stars that have, worked their way up, or they've been able to get lucky, or whatever it might be, and there they are. But you can fall as quick as you're high.
Exactly, and I think that, do you know what I mean? Whenever I'm out, I'm not saying wonderful, but I'd always, there's extras there, and they're excited, and they're talking to you on the side. I love talking to anybody I'm beside, going, "Isn't it great? We're all on it." And they're going, "Well, you're on it." I'm going, "Well, I'm on it the same as you, really." Do you know what I mean? And there's the star, and I have to do a scene with him now, but I don't know, it's great, and the industry is good. The Section 481 is good. What I would say is there could be more actors hired in these movies. Like, there's lots of productions going on.
Yes, there are, yeah.
And the deal that we do in Ireland is we give you great tax relief, and you have to hire 20% cast and crew have to be Irish. That's the deal, right? But what these companies do is, the 20% was the guy who brings the loos on set, the caterers, and then there might be 1% of the actors. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They'll fill up that percentage with all the other jobs, but very little. And sometimes I go, what? That was made in Ireland. I said, is there any? I'm looking for anyone that I know in it. And I see one and I go, celebrate good time. Now, it's hard, and that's the way it rolls, but we have a union, and we're trying to go, trying to spread that out. I could talk for hours on this subject, but I won't. But it's important that people know that that's it. We're given huge tax relief. How many Irish actors are in the movie? That should be said. Do you know what I mean? In that production, how many Irish performers are being hired? I know you've got your 20% rule, but ask it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so I feel strongly on that if they're over here, and then
because lots of productions come here. We don't need to name names, but you have your big Disney productions, or you have your
and
Netflix,
it's hard. The Irish
HBO.
casting directors, they try their best.
Of course they do,
but
yes.
and
they're great. Thankfully, there's going to be a role in the Oscars now for casting directors and everything. Absolutely, should have been there years ago.
Absolutely. And we need them, and they're pushing the Irish actors. But if unfortunately, if you have the bigger the budget, the more star power they have to pull, and they're going, what? If you have, do you know who? Do you know what I mean? And you know that. And sometimes I've walked on set, and I've sometimes looked at, and I see the director on one or two things. They go, did I hire this guy? It might have been from a tape. Yeah. And no matter what you do at my age, whatever age, you have to constantly put stuff on tape. I'm sitting down,
That's
Lisa.
A new thing,
I'm sitting down
isn't it?
watching telly sometimes, watching Game of Thrones, and the guy starts talking, and I know the lines. I go, oh, I auditioned for that. Do you know what I mean? And it's suddenly some guy starts talking on the screen, and I go, I know those lines. And then I start doing it, and then that's who they went with. You never hear. You just put your stuff on tape. It goes off. and then you never hear.
Because it wasn't
You
like
only
that.
hear, obviously, if you get it.
Exactly. But it wasn't like that back in the day. I mean, you know, even kind of when Colin Farrell was starting out, you know what I mean, with the Tigerlands of this world. I think he taped for, wasn't it Joel Schumacher for Tigerland, and he got the role. But that would have been quite unusual. Normally, directors are seeing you.
I used to love,
it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think I used to, my hit rate was a lot higher when you'd be in the room with somebody.
Exactly,
and
that's my point. Yeah.
A director could go, like that. Would you try and maybe pull it down a bit and give it a bit more, internal there, maybe in the eyes.
But that day is gone, right?
That day's gone now. So I've done, and I'm, whatever poor or son or daughter of mine gets dragged in to do the tape, like poor Barry there. Just, are you available? But so they'd film it, and then I go, which is the best take? And you go, I have to send one. If you send two, you annoy them.
You become the director yourself,
and then you're going
self-critiquing.
And you don't get it that much. You have to make a decision on the character, and you go, I'm going to go with that one. That's who I think it is. And then you see the product on the telly app. Pick the wrong one. Pick the wrong one.
Can I ask? I mean, has there been roles that you've gone, that's the one I really should have got? I would have loved that one. Game of Thrones, you mentioned there.
Like I did so many auditions for so many parts in Game of Thrones that I didn't get. So many parts and so many things. I think, there was a time in my career that I'd say in the early days, I was getting 1 in 5, which I thought was par for the course.
That's really good, Don.
But now it's come out to maybe 1 in 20. And like, there's more parts for younger actors, obviously, and younger 30-somethings, 40-somethings. And then suddenly I remember talking to my agent one day, and I said, so what? I said, oh yeah. I said that one. And he said, no, not that part. He said, the grandfather.
Stop.
I said, the grandfather. Yes, that happens. And you go, when did that happen in my career?
Listen, that happens in normal life. I look in the mirror and I go, how did I get to here?
You're doing okay.
Listen, thank you. We have to wrap up, sadly, because we're nearly done out of time. But lots of people are going to be listening in and watching, of course, the podcast on you. And I mean, as we know, your Cassia work is huge. You're a theatre actor by love, by passion, but also the film and the television, everything combined. Lots of actors out there want to get moving just out of acting school, or haven't decided they even want to be actors, but it's just a burning passion. What would you say to them about starting out? You're a long time now doing it. So.
Well, I think, thank you.
Long time now doing it.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
I would say, I think I mentioned it earlier, just start doing something yourself. Do you know what I mean? Put something, now you can, I see people putting stuff just on Insta or TikTok, doing those characters,
on their iPhone.
Putting on, maybe get someone, start doing sketches, and then get an agent out of it. It's just start doing something, start writing scripts, a script, do an interpretation, your interpretation of it. It's now put on a show. It's not that difficult. There's constantly looking for new work. The project in the Smock Alley, find one of those, write something, act in it. There are ways, and put it on. And people they're always looking for the next new exciting talent.
Absolutely. I mean, when I interviewed Jim Sheridan, I was like, God, movie director, Oscar noms, worked with Daniel Day-Lewis three times. How do you get started in film directing? He said, it's very simple, Lisa. You just get your mobile phone out and you start shooting.
That's what you do.
I was like, what? And he was like, honestly, mobile phones are just as good now. You could make a whole movie on your iPhone. And it was just really interesting to hear, a director of his caliber, obviously one of Ireland's great directors, saying, yeah, just get your mobile phone out, or make a podcast, or get on Instagram. Start creating characters, and it really is as simple as that.
They have written their own soaps online, on phone, and and actors getting jobs out of that. Their mates, do you know what I mean? It is possible. It's all out there now. There are no, as I said, strict criteria and how to become a writer and actor. Just do. Just go and do.
Just do. Well, on that note, sadly, Don, we have to wrap it up. I'm sad because we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm absolutely thrilled with the play. I know you're continuing on with all of that and all your future endeavours. We'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.